Ilara felt a small knot of anxiety in her stomach. She sat at a small table in the Silver Bean Cafe, a place that was quiet and simple. She was a single mother, and her life was dedicated to her 7-year-old son, Leo. She worked hard as a nurse at the local clinic, and she rarely had time for herself. This blind date felt like stepping into a different world. Her friend had insisted, arranging the date with a man named Gregory, a local accountant who was supposedly very successful. Ilara did not care about success. She just hoped he was kind. Her hands were shaking slightly as she typed the required "I am here" message. "Hello, Gregory. I am at the Silver Bean Cafe, at the table in the back corner." She typed the number her friend had given her. But in her haste, her thumb pressed a 4 instead of a 5 at the end of the number. It was a simple, tiny mistake. She hit send. She put her phone on the table, face down, feeling a little foolish. She checked her watch. He would be here soon. Minutes passed. The cafe door opened, letting in a cold draft. Ilara looked up, expecting to see a man who looked like an accountant. Instead, a man entered who seemed to suck all the air out of the room. He was not what she expected at all. He wore a dark gray, tailored suit that looked like it cost more than her car. He was tall, with dark hair and a look of intense focus. He seemed completely out of place in the simple cafe with its peeling paint and mismatched chairs. The man scanned the room. His eyes passed over the other patrons and then stopped, fixing directly on Ilara in the back corner. He walked toward her. His steps were silent and confident. Ilara's heart began to beat faster. Was this Gregory? Her friend said he was an accountant, but this man looked like he owned the bank. The man stopped directly at her table. He looked at her with serious, intelligent eyes. Ilara felt small under his gaze. "Hello," he said. His voice was deep and calm. "I'm your date." Ilara blinked, completely confused. I am sorry? I think there is a mistake." "You sent a text," the man said, not unkindly. "The Silver Bean Cafe, the table in the back corner." "Yes," Ilara whispered, "but I was meeting a man named Gregory." The man looked puzzled for a moment. "No," he said simply. "My name is Arthur." He looked down at his own expensive phone, which he held in his hand. "I received your message. I believe it was sent to me by mistake." Ilara's face burned with embarrassment. "Oh no, I am so sorry. I must have typed the number wrong. I am so embarrassed. I wasted your time. You are clearly a very busy person." Arthur looked at the woman in front of him. She was humble, clearly distressed, and wearing a simple, clean blue dress. She seemed genuinely kind, and she was looking at him as if he were a king and she were a peasant. He was Arthur Sterling, a billionaire who ran a global shipping empire. He was supposed to be in a board meeting on the top floor of the skyscraper across the street. His phone had buzzed with the stray text, and his office window looked directly down on the Silver Bean Cafe. He had felt a strange, sudden impulse. He was so tired of board meetings. "You have not wasted my time," he said. Just then, Ilara's own phone buzzed on the table. She picked it up. It was a text from the real Gregory. Her heart sank as she read the cruel, short message. "I just walked by the cafe and saw you. You do not look like your photo. I am not coming. Do not text me again." Ilara stared at the cruel message. All the small, fragile hope she had built up for the day just collapsed. She felt hot tears sting the backs of her eyes. She quickly looked down, trying to hide her face, but Arthur saw the change in her expression immediately. "Is everything all right?" he asked, his voice softer. Ilara could not speak for a moment. She looked up, her pride struggling against the raw disappointment. My date just canceled, she said, her voice small. He said he saw me and did not like what he saw. Arthur's face hardened. He looked at the gentle, embarrassed woman in front of him. Then he looked at the empty chair opposite her. "Well," he said, his voice firm, "he sounds like a fool." Arthur surprised himself by unbuttoning his suit jacket. "May I sit down?" Ilara was stunned. "But you are busy. You have meetings. I am nobody." "I am not busy," Arthur said, and it was the truest thing he had said all day. He gestured to the chair. "I was on my way to a very boring meeting. I would much rather be here." He sat down, placing his phone on the table. "My name is Arthur." "Ilara," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "It is a pleasure to meet you, Ilara," Arthur said. He signaled to the waitress. "Now, I believe you are owed a coffee, and perhaps," he added, "so am I." Just as the waitress started to walk over, the cafe door flew open again. This time, a man in a rumpled, slightly too large suit stomped in. He looked angry. He marched straight to Ilara's table, not even noticing Arthur. "Ilara?" he demanded, his voice loud and arrogant. Ilara shrank back. "Gregory?"
Yes, I sent you that text. I just wanted to make sure you understood, Gregory snapped. You wasted my time. You people on those apps always lie. You look 10 years older than your picture.
Ilara was mortified. The entire cafe was looking at them. "Please," she whispered, "you are being loud." "I do not care," Gregory said. "I am a successful man. I cannot be seen with someone like this." He waved his hand at Ilara's simple dress. "That is enough," Arthur said, his voice quiet but full of authority. Gregory finally turned to Arthur. He laughed. "Who are you? Her father? Or did she find a replacement already?" "I am the man who is enjoying a quiet moment," Arthur said, standing up. He was a foot taller than Gregory. "And you are interrupting. You were rude to this lady. You will apologize, and then you will leave." Gregory sneered. "Apologize? To her? And who are you to tell me what to do? Her rich boyfriend?" He looked at Arthur's suit. "You think you are better than me?" "I think you are a cruel man," Arthur said simply. "And you are upsetting her. So you will leave. Now." Gregory looked at Arthur's cold, serious eyes. All his arrogance suddenly deflated. He felt a chill of fear. He did not know who this man was, but he knew he was not someone to fight. "Whatever," Gregory muttered, trying to keep his pride. "She is all yours. Good luck." He turned and stormed out of the cafe, slamming the door behind him. Ilara had her hands over her face, shaking. "I am so sorry. I am so sorry." Arthur sat back down. He waited until she looked up. "Do not be sorry," he said gently. "That man was the one who was wrong, not you." He pushed a napkin toward her. "Now, let's order that coffee. I want to know everything about Leo." Ilara looked up, shocked. "Leo? How did you know about—" Arthur smiled. "Your phone. There is a picture of you and a small boy in a blue jacket. I assumed he was your son." Ilara looked at her phone's lock screen. It was indeed a picture of Leo. She looked at this strange, kind, and powerful man. "Yes," she said, a small, watery smile forming. "That is my son, Leo. He is 7. "Tell me about him," Arthur said, leaning forward. And for the first time all day, Ilara felt herself relax. Ilara could not believe she was sitting across from this man. He was worlds away from her life, yet he listened with genuine interest. He asked about Leo's school, what food he liked, and what Ilara did for fun. She laughed, a small, shy sound. "Fun? I am a single mother and a nurse. My fun is when Leo falls asleep and I can read one chapter of a book before I fall asleep too." Arthur smiled. It was a real smile, and it transformed his serious face. "That sounds like a very peaceful kind of fun," he said. He did not judge her. He did not make her feel small. He spoke to her as an equal. They talked for nearly an hour. Ilara spoke about the challenges at the clinic, the long hours, and her dream of one day saving enough money to buy a very small house with a tiny yard for Leo. Arthur listened to every word. He felt a sense of calm he had not experienced in years. His daily life was filled with demands, with people who wanted his money or his power. Ilara wanted nothing. She was just a good person, sitting in a simple cafe, recovering from a cruel insult. "You are a remarkable woman, Ilara," he said, his voice low. "You work hard, you are raising a son, and you have faced unkindness with dignity." Ilara blushed. "I am just normal," she said, looking down at her hands. "Most people are just trying their best." Arthur felt a strong pull, a need to help her, but he knew he must be careful. He did not want to frighten her or make her feel like a charity project. "That man, Gregory," Arthur said, his tone turning serious again, "he was a fool. What he said was a reflection of his own empty character, not of you." "Thank you," Ilara whispered. "That is very kind of you to say." Eventually, Ilara looked at the clock on the wall. It was getting late. "Oh my goodness," she said, her anxiety returning. "I have to pick up Leo from my neighbor. I have taken up so much of your time. You must have that important meeting to go to." Arthur had completely forgotten about the board meeting. He checked his phone and saw dozens of missed messages. He felt no regret at all. "The meeting can wait," he said, standing up as she gathered her small purse. "Please allow me to drive you. It is cold outside." Ilara's eyes widened in panic. "Oh no, you cannot. I mean, thank you, but no. My car is just outside. It is very old, but it works." She was mortified at the thought of this man, with his perfect suit, seeing her tiny, rusted car. Even worse, she did not want him to see the poor neighborhood where she lived. It was clean, but it was run down. "I insist," Arthur said gently. "It is no trouble." "Please," Ilara said, her voice firm but trembling. "I would prefer to drive myself, but thank you for the coffee. And for everything. You were very kind to a stranger." Arthur saw the fear in her eyes and understood. She was proud. He respected that. "Very well, Ilara, but may I at least walk you to your car? It is dark." She agreed, and they walked out of the warm cafe into the chilly evening air. Ilara pointed to her small, dented blue car at the end of the street. Arthur walked with her, not slowing his pace, not looking at the car with any judgment. He just walked beside her. They reached the car, and Ilara fumbled for her keys. It was a strange way to meet, but I am glad I made the mistake," she said shyly. "So am I," Arthur said. "Ilara, He was interrupted by the sound of another car, a long, black, impossibly expensive sedan that pulled up silently beside them. The back window lowered, revealing a woman who was the opposite of Ilara in every way. She was stunningly beautiful, with blonde hair pulled back in a severe, elegant style. She wore diamond earrings that glittered in the streetlight. She looked at Arthur with cold, angry eyes. "Arthur," the woman said, her voice sharp and clear, "you are 2 hours late. You have missed the merger call. I have been looking for you everywhere." Her eyes slid over to Ilara, and her expression filled with disgust. She looked Ilara up and down, from her simple dress to her old car. "And I see why. You are busy with charity work?" Ilara froze. She felt as if she had been slapped. Arthur's face became a mask of cold anger. "Isabella," he said, his voice dangerously quiet, "that is enough. That is enough." "Is it?" Isabella said, laughing a cold, brittle laugh. She opened the car door and stepped out. She was tall and looked like a model. She walked directly up to Arthur, ignoring Ilara completely, and straightened his tie. "Darling, you cannot just disappear to play with the poor. People will talk. Now, get in the car. We have to fix the mess you made." Isabella then turned to Ilara as if noticing an insect. "I am sure whatever service you provided him is finished. You can run along now." Ilara felt the tears return, but this time they were tears of humiliation. She wanted to disappear. She turned to Arthur, her face pale. "I am so sorry," she whispered. "I have caused you terrible trouble. I have to go." "Ilara, wait," Arthur commanded. He turned to Isabella, his eyes like ice. "You will apologize to this lady immediately." Isabella laughed again. "Apologize? To her? Arthur, do not be ridiculous. She is a nobody. She probably texted you for money. How much does she want?" Isabella reached into her designer handbag. Ilara could not bear it for one more second. This was her fault. She had texted the wrong number. She had pulled this powerful man into her small, simple life and had brought this dragon down on him. She had to protect him, and she had to protect herself. "Stop," Ilara said, her voice shaking but clear. "Please, stop. He is right. I am nobody. I texted him by accident. It was all a mistake. I am leaving. I am so sorry for the trouble." She did not wait for Arthur to reply. She yanked her car door open, jumped inside, and turned the key. The old engine made a loud, embarrassing noise, but it started. She did not look back. She drove away as fast as she could, her hands shaking so hard she could barely hold the steering wheel. Arthur watched her car disappear. He felt a rage he had not felt in years. He turned to Isabella, his face dark. "You," he said, "have just made a very serious mistake." "I made a mistake?" Isabella scoffed, tossing her hair. "Arthur, I saved you from embarrassment. Now, get in the car." "No," Arthur said. He pulled out his phone and dialed his head of security. "I will not be getting in the car with you. I will be finding her." He looked at Isabella with pure disgust. "And you and I, Isabella, are finished." He turned his back on his shocked fiancée and started walking down the dark street, his mind focused only on the small, dented blue car that had driven away. Ilara drove with tears blurring her vision. She felt a deep, burning shame that was so strong it made her sick. She had been called nobody and charity work. The words echoed in her head, spoken by that cold, beautiful woman. Ilara had always known her life was simple, but she had never felt poor until that moment. She had never felt so worthless. She parked her car, ran up the stairs to her neighbor's apartment, and scooped Leo into her arms, holding him so tightly he giggled. "Mommy, you are squeezing me," Leo said. Ilara kissed his hair, breathing in the scent of him. He was her real life. He was her anchor. The man in the suit and the cruel woman in the black car were like a strange, painful dream. She vowed to forget them. She would go to work tomorrow, care for her son, and never, ever make the mistake of thinking she belonged anywhere near people like that. Back on the street, Arthur stood in the cold air, his fury a quiet, controlled fire. Isabella was staring at him, her beautiful face twisted in disbelief. "Arthur, did you hear me? The engagement is over. You cannot be serious. My father will destroy your shipping routes." "Let him try," Arthur said.
his voice flat. He did not even look at her. His security chief, Michael, had pulled up in another car. Arthur got in. "Michael," Arthur said, his voice all business, "I need you to find someone. Her name is Ilara. She is a nurse at a local clinic. She has a 7-year-old son named Leo." "Do we have a last name, sir?" Michael asked. "No," Arthur said. "But she was at the Silver Bean Cafe an hour ago. Start there. I want you to find out where she works. I need to know by morning." "And, Michael," Arthur added, "you will be respectful. No one is to frighten her. No one is to approach her. You will just find out where she is. Am I clear?"
"Perfectly clear, sir," Michael said.
Arthur leaned his head back against the seat. He thought of Ilara's terrified face as she drove away in her old car. He had seen her dignity when she faced Gregory, and he had seen her completely broken by Isabella's cruelty. He had allowed that to happen. He would fix it. The next day, Ilara felt like she had not slept at all. She put on her clean, white nurse's uniform, her movements slow and heavy. She dropped Leo at school and walked to the clinic. The day was filled with patients. She took temperatures, gave injections, and was especially gentle with an elderly woman named Mrs. Gable, who was afraid of needles. "You are a dear, Ilara," Mrs. Gable said, patting her hand. "You have such a kind touch, a blessing." Ilara gave her a weak smile.
The small moment of kindness was a relief.
She was updating a patient's chart when she felt a change in the waiting room. She looked up. Her heart stopped. Arthur Sterling was standing just inside the clinic door. He was not wearing a suit, but simple dark trousers and a cashmere sweater that still looked more expensive than anything she owned. He was holding a small, simple pot of white orchids. He looked tired, and he was looking directly at her. Ilara's face went white. She felt dizzy. All the other nurses were staring. Patients were staring. He was a lion in a room full of mice. "Mr. Sterling?" she whispered. He took a step toward her. "Ilara, I must speak with you. "Mr. Sterling!" A voice boomed across the room. It was Dr. Evans, the clinic director. Dr. Evans was a snobby, ambitious man who cared more about the clinic's donors than its patients. He rushed forward, his hand extended, a fake smile on his face. "What an honor! We had no idea you were coming to visit our humble clinic. If you are here for a donation, I am the man to speak to." Dr. Evans looked at Ilara and frowned. "Ilara, why are you standing there? Go and check on the patient in room 3. Do not bother Mr. Sterling." "No," Arthur said, his voice firm and clear. The waiting room went silent. "I am not here for a donation. I am here to see Ilara." Dr. Evans looked confused. He looked from the billionaire to his simple nurse. "Ilara? But why?" Arthur stepped past him and stood in front of Ilara's desk. "Ilara," he said softly, so only she could hear, "I am here to apologize. What Isabella said to you last night was unforgivable. It was cruel, and it was false. I am so deeply sorry that you were treated that way." He placed the pot of orchids on her desk. Ilara was trembling. She could not believe this was happening. You should not be here," she whispered. "People are looking. You are making things worse." "I do not care if people are looking," Arthur said. "I will not allow that to be our last conversation." Just then, Dr. Evans's main office phone began to ring. His assistant ran out. "Dr. Evans, you must take this call. It is Isabella Vance, from the Vance Corporation." Dr. Evans's eyes went wide. The Vance Corporation was one of the wealthiest in the country. Yes! He ran to his office. Arthur saw the name Isabella land on Ilara like a physical blow. Ilara shrank back, wrapping her arms around herself. Please, she begged him, you must go. You do not understand. People like her, they can ruin people like me. Please, just leave.
I am not leaving you, Arthur said, his voice protective. A moment later, Dr. Evans stormed out of his office. His face, which had been so friendly, was now a mask of cold fury. He was not looking at Arthur. He was looking straight at Ilara. "Ilara," he said, his voice sharp and loud. "My office, now." Ilara's blood ran cold. "Doctor?" "Now," he barked. He then turned to Arthur, his voice shaking with a strange mix of fear and anger. "Mr. Sterling, I must ask you to wait outside. This is an internal staff matter." "Any matter concerning Ilara concerns me," Arthur said, not moving. "No, please," Ilara said, pulling on Arthur's arm. "Please, just wait. I will handle this. It is my job." She was terrified. She looked at Arthur, her eyes begging him to understand. She turned and walked toward Dr. Evans's office, her steps feeling like they were made of lead. She knew, with absolute certainty, that her entire world was about to fall apart. Ilara walked into Dr. Evans's small, cluttered office. Her hands were ice cold. Dr. Evans slammed the door shut and turned on her. His face was red, and he was breathing heavily. "What have you done, Ilara?" he hissed. "Do you have any idea who that woman was? That was Isabella Vance. Her family could buy this clinic and turn it into a parking lot just because they were bored." "Dr. Evans, I did nothing," Ilara said, her voice shaking. "I do not even know those people. It was a mistake, a complete accident." "An accident?" Dr. Evans scoffed. "Miss Vance told me a very different story. She said you have been harassing Mr. Sterling, that you are some desperate woman trying to get money from him. She said you are unstable." Ilara felt the blood drain from her face. "That is not true. That is a lie. I never asked for anything. I told him to leave. "Silence," Dr. Evans shouted. "I do not care what the truth is. I care about the reputation of this clinic. I have donors to think about. I have my own career. I will not let a simple nurse bring all of this down. Ilara, I am sorry, but your employment here is terminated. You must clean out your locker and leave immediately." "Fired?" Ilara whispered. The word hit her like a stone. "But I have done nothing wrong. I am a good nurse. You know I am." "It does not matter," Dr. Evans said. "You are a problem, and I am solving it." He reached for the door. "Now, get out." Before his hand touched the handle, the door opened quietly. Arthur Sterling was standing in the doorway. He had heard every word. His face was calm, but his eyes were so cold that Dr. Evans physically recoiled. "Dr. Evans," Arthur said, his voice dangerously soft. "Mr. Sterling, I was just handling a private staff matter," the doctor stammered, his arrogance vanishing. "You were firing an innocent woman based on a lie," Arthur stated. He took a step into the room, and Dr. Evans took a step back. "Let me be perfectly clear. Ilara did nothing wrong. She was the victim of a cruel woman named Isabella Vance. I came here today to apologize to Ilara for what she suffered, and I heard you fire her." Arthur looked at the doctor. "You are correct about one thing. Reputations are important. If you continue with this decision, you will find that every donor you have, every medical supplier, and every bank this clinic uses will hear a personal, detailed story from me about how you treat your best staff. Your career will be over. Your clinic will be closed. Am I understood?" Dr. Evans was as white as a sheet. He was shaking.
Yes, yes, Mr. Sterling. A misunderstanding. A terrible misunderstanding. Ilara, my dear girl. He turned to Ilara, his voice suddenly dripping with false kindness. I am so sorry. I was under pressure. Of course you are not fired. You are our best nurse. Please, take the rest of the day off. With pay. Take the week off.
Ilara just stared at him, horrified. This was worse. This was so much worse. She looked past the doctor, through the open door. The entire waiting room was silent. All the other nurses, all the patients, they were staring. They had seen her shouted at, they had seen her fired, and now they had seen this billionaire defend her like she was his property. She felt her face burn. She was not a person anymore. She was a spectacle. She was Arthur Sterling's charity work, just as Isabella had said. She pushed past Dr. Evans. She pushed past Arthur. "Please," she whispered, her voice thick with humiliation and anger. "Just stop. You have to stop." Arthur reached for her arm. "Ilara, I was protecting you." "Protecting me?" she said, and her voice was suddenly loud. She did not care who heard. "You have ruined me. I cannot work here anymore. Do you see how they are looking at me? I was a person here. I was a nurse. Now I am your project. I am the woman the rich man saved. I will never be normal again." "That is not true," Arthur said, looking distressed. "I only wanted to help." "You did not help," she cried, tears of frustration streaming down her face. "You made it impossible. Gregory was cruel for 5 minutes. Isabella was cruel for 10. You have destroyed my whole life just by being kind. Please, I am begging you, leave me alone. Do not come near me or my son ever again." She did not wait for his answer. She grabbed her purse from under her desk, ignoring the pot of orchids. She ran out the clinic door, past the staring faces, and did not stop running until she turned the corner. She leaned against a brick wall, gasping for air, her world completely tilted. She had no job, no prospects, and a billionaire she did not want was trying to save her, crushing her in the process. Arthur stood frozen in the clinic. He watched her run. Her words hit him harder than any business failure ever had. "You have destroyed my whole life just by being kind." He had used his power like a club, thinking it would fix everything, and instead he had broken the one thing she valued most, her dignity. He turned and looked at Dr. Evans, who was trying to smile. "Sir, anything you need," Dr. Evans began. "You will not speak to her," Arthur said, his voice flat. "You will not fire her. You will not punish her. You will pay her for the entire week. If I hear she has been treated with anything less than total respect, I will keep my promise." He walked out of the clinic, feeling the weight of his mistake. He got into his car, where Michael was waiting. "Take me to the office," Arthur said. He was done using power. It was too clumsy. It was time to use his intelligence. "Sir," Michael said, "we have more information on her. She lives in the Oakwood apartments. She is struggling. Her son, Leo, has a mild form of asthma, and the apartment is known for having mold issues." Arthur looked at his hands. Ilara had told him she wanted a small house with a yard. She needed a safe place for her son. He could not just buy her one. She would reject it. He had to find a way to give her what she needed without her knowing it was from him. "Michael," Arthur said, a new, careful plan forming, "I need you to find the owner of the Oakwood apartment building. And I need you to find every available small house for sale in a 5-mile radius of Leo's school. Do it quietly." For 2 weeks, Ilara lived in a quiet nightmare. She did as Arthur had demanded and collected her pay from the clinic, but she did not return. The humiliation was too great. She spent every day searching for a new nursing job, but it was difficult. She had left her last job without notice and could not use Dr. Evans as a reference. The little money she had saved began to disappear, spent on food and bus fare. Rent was due at the end of the month, and she did not have it. The worst part was Leo. The mold in their small apartment, always a problem, seemed to get worse in the cold, damp air. His asthma, usually manageable, flared up badly. One night, his breathing became shallow and fast. Ilara had to rush him to the emergency room, her heart pounding with a terror far greater than any she had felt for herself. At the hospital, a kind, elderly doctor treated Leo. "He will be fine," the doctor said gently, "but Ilara, I must be honest. This attack was severe. The air in your apartment, you said it has mold. That is not just a problem, it is a danger. He cannot live there. You must move." "Move?" Ilara repeated, her voice hollow. I cannot. I have no job. I have no money." She broke down, right there in the hospital hallway, covering her face as silent, exhausted tears fell. She had failed. She could not protect her son. 2 days later, just when she had given up all hope, 2 letters arrived. The first was an eviction notice. She stared at it, her hands numb. The owner had sold the building, and the new management was terminating all leases for a major renovation. They had 30 days to leave. This was the final blow. Then she opened the second letter. It was a crisp, white envelope with no return address. Inside was a legal document and a letter. "Dear Miss Ilara," it began. She did not recognize the name of the law firm. "We represent the new owners of the Oakwood building. We understand that a 30-day notice is a terrible inconvenience. Due to the circumstances, and in recognition of your perfect rental history, the ownership group is offering you a relocation package." Ilara's eyes scanned the page. It offered her a new lease on a small, 2-bedroom house on Maple Street, just 4 blocks from Leo's school. The house was newly renovated and had been inspected for all potential hazards. The letter stated the lease payment would be exactly the same as her current low rent. All moving expenses would be paid. She just had to sign. It was a miracle. It was too good to be true. She read the letter 5 times, looking for the catch. There was none. She was desperate. Leo was sick. She signed. The next day, a 3rd letter came. This one was from the Sterling Pediatric Wellness Center, a new clinic that was opening across town. It was an invitation for an interview. "A former colleague of yours from the city clinic recommended you in the highest possible terms," it read. She was confused. Who would recommend her? She went to the interview. The clinic was beautiful, new, and bright. It smelled like fresh paint and kindness. The director, a woman named Dr. Shell, loved it all. Chen hired her on the spot as the new head pediatric nurse. The salary was almost double what Dr. Evans had paid her. 1 month later, Ilara's life was unrecognizable. She and Leo lived in the little house on Maple Street. It was clean, warm, and had a small green yard. Leo's asthma had vanished. He ran in the grass, his laughter clear and strong. Ilara loved her new job. She was respected. She was in charge of training other nurses. Her work was focused on helping children, just as she had always wanted. It was all perfect. But the mystery of it all kept her awake at night. Who was her anonymous savior? The name of the clinic, Sterling Pediatric Wellness, was a constant, burning question. She finally got the courage to ask Dr. Chen. "Dr. Chen," she said one afternoon, "our benefactor, the one who founded this clinic, is his name Arthur Sterling?" Dr. Chen smiled. "He is a very private man. He prefers all the credit to go to the staff. But yes, Mr. Sterling's foundation funded this entire center. He is deeply committed to helping children with respiratory problems." Ilara felt her legs go weak.
I see. Thank you.
The next week, Mr. Sterling himself was scheduled to visit for a formal tour. Ilara was terrified. She thought about calling in sick. She did not know what to say to him. When he walked in, he was not alone. He was with his security chief, Michael, and Dr. Chen. He looked just as he had before, powerful and serious. He toured the facility, and Ilara did her best to stay busy, to hide in the treatment rooms. But he found her. She was organizing medical supplies, her back to the door. "Hello, Ilara." She froze. She turned around slowly. "Mr. Sterling!" He stood in the doorway, and Dr. Chen and Michael stayed respectfully down the hall. "You look well," he said. "Dr. Chen says you are the best head nurse she has ever had." Ilara looked at him, and all the pieces of her new life clicked into place. The house, the relocation package, the job offer, the clinic named after him. "It was you," she whispered, "all of it. You bought my apartment building. You gave me this job. You gave me that house." She looked down, her old shame returning. "It was charity. After everything I said, you just did it anyway." "No," Arthur said, his voice firm but gentle. "It was not charity." He took a step closer. "When you ran from the clinic, you told me I had destroyed your life by being kind. You were right. I had used my power like a weapon, and I was ashamed. I vowed to do it differently. I vowed to use it like a tool." He gestured around the clinic. "I did not give you this job, Ilara. I founded this clinic, yes, but I instructed my team to find the absolute best pediatric nurse in this city. They investigated every clinic. They spoke to former patients, to suppliers. They found one name that everyone agreed was the kindest, most skilled, and most dedicated. It was your name. You were hired because you were the best. You earned this." He continued, "And the house? I did buy that building. It was a bad building, and it was making your son sick. I offered all the good tenants relocation packages. It was a simple, fair business transaction. You pay your rent. You are a tenant, not a guest." Ilara looked up at him, her eyes shining with tears. But they were not tears of humiliation. They were tears of gratitude. He had not just saved her, he had protected her dignity while doing it. He had listened to her angry words and had truly understood them. "My son," she whispered, "he can breathe, Mr. Sterling. He plays in the yard. You heard me. That day in the cafe, I told you I wanted a small yard for him." "I always listen, Ilara," he said. "You told me you were nobody. I wanted to show you that you are, in fact, everything. You are a good mother, a brilliant nurse, and the most honest person I have ever met." "Arthur," she said, using his first name for the first time, I do not know how to thank you." "There is nothing to thank me for," he said. "But if you are not busy this Saturday, I was wondering if you and Leo would show me the park near your new house. I am told it is very nice." Ilara looked at this man, no longer a billionaire in a suit, but just Arthur, a kind man who had seen her at her worst and had given her his best. A small, genuine smile touched her lips. "Yes," she said, "we would like that very much." That Saturday was a new beginning. Arthur arrived at the small house on Maple Street not in a black sedan, but in a simple, dark green car. He wore jeans and a warm sweater, and he carried a small paper bag. When Ilara opened the door, Leo was hiding shyly behind her legs. Arthur knelt down, so he was on the boy's level. "You must be Leo," Arthur said, his voice gentle. "I am Arthur. I heard you are an expert on this park. I brought a peace offering." He pulled a small, colorful kite from the bag. Leo's eyes went wide with delight. "A kite!" he shouted, his shyness gone. "Mommy, can we fly it? Can we?" Ilara, watching this powerful man treat her son with such simple, direct kindness, felt her last wall of fear melt away. "Yes, my dear," she said, her own voice full of a new, light happiness. "Let's go to the park." The three of them walked the 4 blocks to the park. Arthur did not talk about business or money. He talks to Leo about dinosaurs and to Ilara about her favorite books. In the open field, Arthur and Leo worked together to get the kite into the air. When the wind finally caught it and the bright red tail streamed against the blue sky, Leo's laugh was the purest sound Ilara had ever heard. She sat on a blanket, just watching them. She watched Arthur run with her son, his laughter as real and unforced as Leo's. He was not a billionaire, he was just a man, a good, kind man who had seen her value when she could not see it herself. Their Saturdays in the park became a ritual. Then they became Sunday dinners. Arthur would come to the small house, and the three of them would make pasta, and Leo would tell him long, complicated stories about school. Arthur listened to every word. He helped Ilara fix a leaky faucet. He helped Leo build a model airplane. He was not saving them, he was joining them. He was becoming part of their family, slowly and respectfully. Ilara, in turn, found herself listening to him. He spoke of the pressures of his company, the loneliness he had felt for years, surrounded by people who only wanted what he had, not who he was. She gave him advice, simple and direct. "You should be honest with them, Arthur," she would say. "Just tell them the truth. It is always the easiest way." He found her simple wisdom to be more valuable than that of his entire board of directors. One evening, 6 months later, Arthur came over for dinner. He seemed nervous. After Leo was asleep, they sat on the small front porch. "Ilara," he began, taking her hand. His hand was warm and strong. "When I met you, my life was a series of meetings and transactions. It was all gray. You and Leo, you have brought color into my world. You have shown me what is real." He paused, and she saw the same vulnerability in his eyes that she had once felt in herself. "I do not want to just visit. I want to stay. I love you, Ilara. I love your kindness, your strength, and your honesty. I love Leo. I want to be a real family. Will you marry me?" Ilara looked at him, and she saw her future. It was not a future of wealth or fancy houses. It was a future of partnership, of respect, of quiet Saturdays in the park. "Yes, Arthur," she whispered, tears in her eyes. "Yes, I will." Their wedding was not a grand affair. It was held in the small backyard of their house. Leo was the ring bearer. The only guests were Dr. Chen, a few of Ilara's nurse friends, and Arthur's security chief, Michael, who cried. As for the others, their lives found their own paths. Gregory, the rude accountant, was eventually fired from his job after his company discovered he had been rude to several important clients. He found it very difficult to find new work. Dr. Evans was quietly removed from his position at the clinic after the board, led by a new president, reviewed his performance and his poor treatment of staff. And Isabella Vance? Her father's company did try to cause trouble for Arthur's shipping routes. But Arthur, with Ilara's calm support, was smarter. He rerouted his ships and formed new, stronger alliances. Isabella's attack had failed, and in doing so, had exposed her father's company as an unreliable partner. Their influence faded. Isabella, Ilara heard, married a European duke and was reportedly very wealthy and very, very unhappy. But Ilara did not think about them. Her life was too full. Arthur adopted Leo, and 2 years later they had a daughter, a little girl with Arthur's serious eyes and Ilara's warm smile. The Sterling Pediatric Wellness Center became the most respected children's clinic in the state, with Ilara as its director. Arthur, with Ilara by his side, changed his company. He focused on philanthropy that was smart, respectful, and, as Ilara always insisted, useful. They were a team in all things. One evening, Ilara stood at the window of her home, watching Arthur and a now 10-year-old Leo setting up a telescope in the yard. She felt a profound sense of peace. Her life had been changed by a single, mistaken text message, but it had been saved by something far more powerful. True kindness is not just about giving. It is about seeing the value in someone when the whole world has told them they have none.